if you look at these terminology, the first thing is what is called a set point. Now, in the dam, what is the set point? The limit beyond which the water cannot rise, because if that happens, the dam might crack out. So, set point is the limit, people. Set point is the limit. In body, we call this as normal range. Is a limit, or in body we call this as normal range. So the parameters will be always checked, got it? And the parameters will be ensured whether these parameters are in a normal range or not. Now when I say parameters, please don't think of anything like respiratory rate or blood pressure or something. Why? Because of course there are homeostatic mechanisms, but for example, what is normal blood pressure range, people? Systolic blood pressure, let's take up. It might go all the way from 80 all the way up to 139 millimeters of mercury. So anything beyond that is abnormal, right? But what happens to systolic pressure during severe exercise? It might go even up to 160 millimeters of mercury. So does that mean it's abnormal? Does that mean the homeostasis is not working? So if you think this in terms of homeostasis, you'll get stuck. So please understand, body have multiple parameters, respiratory rate, heart rate, blood pressure, mean arterial pressure, pulse pressure, whatnot. But the word homeostasis restricts its discussion to interstitial fluid and its composition and its volume, that is all. Do not think of anything else and don't get confused because something is widely changing and homeostasis is not happening, not that way. Homeostasis restricts its definition to interstitial fluid, which is the internal environment for a cell to survive. That is all, doctors. So, sodium level in the interstitial fluid, potassium level in the interstitial fluid, glucose level in the interstitial fluid. These are all being continuously and seriously monitored by set points. When the parameters of interstitial fluid gets deviated beyond that range, the set point is getting changed, right? There is going to be deviation from the set point. Any deviations happening is getting sensed by sensors, right? So sensors are present in the body to look for deviations from normal range. Alright, for example, let us take up interstitial fluid osmolality. Osmolality of interstitial fluid is 290 milliosmoles per kilogram of water. Now this osmolality of interstitial fluid is sensed by a sensor present in hypothalamus called as osmoreceptors. Osmoreceptors. In hypothalamus, we got a nucleus called organum vasculosum lamina terminalis, which is essentially involved in sensing the osmolality. So, we do have certain receptors which are nothing but the sensors, which keeps on monitoring the interstitial fluid parameters. Got it? So, you know what is a set point, the range, you know what is a sensor. And then effector signals. Whenever there is a deviation of a reference range beyond normal, now those deviations is going to bring about a signal to the sensors. For example, whenever there is an increased osmolality, this osmolality is going to trigger osmoreceptors, which is nothing but a signal, people. So once the signal is being delivered, we have something called as control center, where again in this case hypothalamus is the control center. So what does hypothalamus do? Hypothalamus now senses that there is going to be an increased osmolality. After sensing the increased osmolality, hypothalamus activate thirst centers. Lateral nucleus of hypothalamus is the thirst center. So once thirst center gets activated, the subject drinks more water, so that osmolality becomes normal. So we have a control center which mediates the whole process. It senses a trigger, it senses a signal for which the control center reacts in such a manner that some physiological process is going to happen through which the interstitial fluid concentration or volume is going to be maintained within the original range. That is control center. So as we just discussed, the control center is going to bring about a change in input or output. In this case, the center is getting activated. The subject is going to drink more water. So input is going to be changed. If he is eating, he is going to stop eating and is going to drink more water because his thirst centers are getting activated. So with the changes in input as well as in output, there is some effector organs involved. Got it? So as we drink water, it gets to the GIT and that's going to be the effector organ, people. Alright. Now these are all the parameters involved in bringing about homeostasis. All these parameters, starting from set point all the way to effector organs. All the parameters are involved in maintaining homeostasis. Now once everything is over, you need to be familiar with another terminology in this process called sensitivity of the system. The mechanism which is involved in bringing the parameters within a normal range has got its own sensitivity. Certain parameters are very sensitive to changes, certain parameters are not very sensitive to changes, people. For example, if you consider a level of salt. Now when body salt level increases, which means when body sodium level increases, the osmoreceptors are very sensitive to it. So even if there is a slight increase in osmolality, there is going to be a sudden activation from osmoreceptors, hypothalamus gets into action. There is going to be activation of supraoptic and paraventricular nucleus. There is going to be production of more antidiuretic hormone. More water will be reabsorbed, osmolality will be brought back to normal. You get this point, guys? So certain parameters do have a tremendous sensitivity for changes. Even if there is a slight change, there is going to be an immediate mechanisms coming into operations trying to bring the change back to original limits. On the other hand, the same kind of sensitivity is not seen in systems that controls ECF volume. Osmolality could able to bring about a faster change, while change in volume or change in pressure is not going to be that fast. It's going to bring about changes in a gradual manner. Why? Those control centers and sensors do have a very different sensitivity. Even though there is a change in the parameter, it is not immediately sensed, it's not immediately getting corrected. So sensitivity of the system determines whether a system can work fast or not.